We're back on this Friday night with a special live discussion. It involves a 15-year-old schoolgirl. It's a story that's been buzzing on social media.
That's right.
About the schoolgirl being chastised by a school principal for her natural hairstyle.
Yeah, that's right. So we have with us the mom. So we have Lisa Morton Taylor. She's on my right this evening. We have attorney at law Jason Jones, and no stranger to social media as well as to Trinidad and Tobago, our very own Shabaka Kambon with us this evening. So we're here to discuss discrimination, the lawsuit against what everybody's talking about right now, the ability for this 15-year-old girl being discriminated against her hairstyle, her natural hair.
And of course, as I said, it's something that has been buzzing on social media. People have been coming out against it. There may have been some people coming out for what happened, but the comments we've been seeing has really been, like a stance saying that this should not have happened with this girl for a natural hairstyle. So, for anybody who may not be familiar with the case, Lisa, can you please give us a brief synopsis of what happened with your daughter at her school?
She was targeted with negative comments constantly, in my opinion, too often, about her natural hairstyles, the choice that she chooses to comb her hair in. They apparently don't like to see particular styles in her hair.
And we understand that those hairstyles in particular tonight are Bantu knots as well as twists.
Those two were mentioned.
And you would have done sleek puffs as well as cornrows?
I do cornrows. We don't do sleek puffs because they are considered as elevated. So sleek puffs will be for other occasions.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I believe I read in the newspaper story that at one point the school's principal put their hand in the child's hair and complained about if your mother didn't comb your hair or that kind of thing.
She said if her mother couldn't comb her hair better than that, and then she quick to send letters to the school, because I already sent a letter dealing with this issue already earlier in February. It's an ongoing issue. I've been dealing with this since last year. Since she cut her hair, actually, last year is about, we're going for almost 2 years. So since she cut her hair and she went with the afro, which was very short at the time, they found it shouldn't be out in an afro. But there are very little things you can do with an afro that is about an inch. So that's where the battle started.
So if we can just get Jason in on this, in terms of a legal capacity here, what exactly is the case? And have you seen cases like this previously in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, certainly there would have been reports before, but at this stage the full scope in terms of the full legal scope of the matter hasn't been fully determined. At this stage, our client is really interested in facilitating further amicable discussions between the stakeholders. And at this point, our legal position is that we want to have further discourse with the school, the various authorities, and certainly Ministry of Education and the Anglican Board of Education.
And of course, I'm Shabaka Campbell. I want to bring in right now. We're hearing up for people calling for dialogue between the parents and the school and the education officials. But do you believe dialogue in this particular case is all we need to put away this kind of problem from ever popping up in the future?
Yeah. Well, let me just say right off the bat that the activist community, by and large, rejects the idea being floated by the authorities that this matter could be solved by a dialogue between the parents and the school involved. That's because of the amount, the thousands and thousands of young boys and girls who are being marginalized and humiliated and suffering as a consequence of situations like this. Remember, what is at stake here is a widespread, pernicious, and fundamentally racist belief that the hairstyles of people of African descent or African people are not suitable for formal settings. And this is encapsulated in all kinds of mythologies that these hairstyles are unhygienic, disruptive, messy, and unkempt. And of course, all this is really a legacy of our colonial past.
Lisa, back to you. This story, as we said, has been getting so much attention. How has your daughter been coping with all this attention, and national attention, and at this point, international attention to this issue involving her at such a young age at school?
My daughter has a really strong personality. Just today she told me, Mommy, let's just get it out and over with because she's fed up of the comments and whatever. So she would like them to set a precedence so that nobody else has to go through this again. So she is still standing strong that, you know, we're not wrong, we're following the rules, and let them, if they want to adjust it, let us talk about adjusting it.
All right, so just to give you a little bit of an idea as to what's happening, I know on your screen you're seeing a lot of imagery, and what you're seeing is actually instances where we have had in Trinidad and Tobago discrimination with their hairstyles. 1994, 2 students. You're seeing the qualifier employee in 2016. In the year of 2004, we had a 12-year-old girl discriminated because of her dreadlocks hairstyle as well. And even in 1999, a 15-year-old student from Diego Martin also threatened, and she came out saying her hair has always been worn like this. I have always felt proud of my natural self. Now I feel offended and threatened. So many children feeling like this evening because of their natural hairstyle. And at the end of the day, the National School of Conduct simply states your grooming should be modest, clean, and consistent with healthy, sanitary, and safety practices. If this is not healthy, sanitary, safety practices, what is it?
Yeah, if I could just say one thing, is that this is not a problem that's isolated to Trinidad and Tobago. We have reports from all across the Caribbean, and the reports that you get here, those few reports that you've articulated, really the tip of the iceberg. This goes all the way to the continent of Africa, and everywhere you look, all the legislation is neutral, like the legislation we have in our schools, but that does not protect African children. That's why we're saying that the Emancipation Support Committee is calling for a task force to look into the issue. I don't think we can settle for anything less. And we're probably going to have to boost the legislation, because even though the legislation now is not explicitly in racialized terms, that does not protect children of African descent.
I want to thank Lisel, Jason, and Shabaka for joining us for this discussion tonight. Of course, the story doesn't end here, and so we'll be following right here in TV6 to keep the public updated on what's happening with this story.